Hello everyone, Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense. Thank you for watching. I have another Monday quarterback video for you. I'm going to play this video and talk about things that are going on, a bit explain what's going on, and talk about things that I think that are being done right and or done wrong. This video is about two separate officer-involved shootings that literally occurred within seconds of each other. Two totally separate incidents that were separated by just mere seconds. This is an oddity. The occurrence of this happening like that in a local area is just like I don't even know what the statistics on that would be. Like 1 in a million. I mean, to have two officer-involved shootings within seconds of each other, it's very peculiar. So. I'll play the video. It's only 7 minutes long, so I'll let the whole video play, and then I'll go back and I'll start breaking down the video from the beginning. Here we go.
Hello, I'm Sergeant Efrain Cornejo. As part of the Milwaukee Police Department's continuous commitment to be transparent with our community, we created community briefings to provide information to the public regarding officer-involved critical incidents. Community briefings are intended to provide relevant information which may include video footage, audio recordings, photographs, and other evidence. It is our priority to release this information and inform our community as soon as possible, unless releasing the information will compromise the integrity of the investigation. When watching this video, keep in mind that this may still be an ongoing investigation. For privacy purposes, we have concealed audio and images of community members captured in this video. The video you are about to see may contain officers using force, explicit language, and disturbing images. Viewer discretion is strongly advised.
Hello, I'm Assistant Chief Nicole Waldner with the Milwaukee Police Department. The purpose of this community briefing is to give a synopsis of two officer-involved shootings that occurred on Friday, May 5th, 2023, near the 1200 block of South Cesar Chavez Drive. The two incidents occurred seconds from each other, so I will brief them together. At approximately 11 p.m., officers were on foot patrol monitoring groups of people that gathered along South Cesar Chavez Drive for the Cinco De Mayo celebration. While monitoring the crowd, 3 to 4 shots were heard from the alley behind 1211 South 15th Place. Officers ran to the area of the shots and saw a Hispanic male firing a gun in a southeast direction. Officers confronted the suspect, ordered him to drop the gun. The suspect did not drop the gun and fled with the gun in his hand.
Those are shots. Gunshots, gunshots! Gunshots, gunshots! Gunshots, no! Move, right there! Right there! Hey, put it down! Put it down now! Put it down! Put it down! Put it down! Stop! Drop! Drop the gun! Drop the gun! On your stomach! On your stomach!
Officer fired one round from his rifle and hit the suspect. Officers immediately rendered aid to the suspect, who sustained one gunshot wound to the lower left abdomen.
We need the sergeant over here too!
Hey, you need to step back. I'll do this.
The suspect's .40 caliber Glock pistol with extended magazine was recovered. The suspect was a CCW permit holder. The investigation revealed that the suspect was exchanging fire with another vehicle in the alley. 2 different groups of casings were recovered in the alley that supported the suspect and the witness accounts of this event. The district attorney's office chose not to issue charges since there was evidence of the shots being fired in self-defense. The Milwaukee Police Department investigated the shooting due to the non-life-threatening injuries sustained, which is in compliance with Wisconsin state statutes. While watching this second incident, you are able to hear the shots from the first incident I just described. The second incident occurred at 1205 South Cesar Chavez Drive. The crowd begins to rush as the shots from the first incident are being fired when this suspect, seen in a red hoodie, starts to fire rounds from a fully auto handgun. The officer confronted the suspect and ordered him to stop. The officer fired rounds and struck the suspect. When the suspect was on the ground, he continued to reach over towards his gun next to him. The officer continued to fire at the suspect as he moved towards his gun, despite the officer's commands of "don't reach." The officer then approached the suspect to secure the weapon. The officer called for medical attention, and once assistance arrived, the suspect was taken into custody and medical attention was given.
2416 to 2211. Let me get 4 officers here. Follow me right here, go to the alley, make sure nobody's hurt.
Get back! Get back! Get back! Get back! Get back! Get back! Everybody get back! 2286! 2286! Shots fired! Officer involved! I have the gun recovered. I need medical right now! Black male shot multiple times! Right here, right here, right here. Here's the gun. I'm over here, over here.
Everybody off here. Give me a location.
I'm just west on Scott from 16th. Gun recovered. We need medical, we need bosses.
How many officers are involved? Are there any officers injured?
No officers are injured, it's just me. Multiple gunshots.
The suspect's Glock 9mm full auto switch and extended magazine was recovered. The suspect was charged with second-degree recklessly endangering safety, use of a dangerous weapon, possession of a machine gun, and possession of a dangerous weapon by a person under 18 years old. Due to the nature of the injuries, this investigation is being conducted by the Milwaukee Area Investigative Team, with Wauwatosa Police Department being the lead agency. As per standard operating procedures, both officers remain on administrative duty pending the outcome of this investigation, which is still under review by the Milwaukee County District Attorney's Office. Thank you.
All right. Lots of stuff to talk about here. So let's go to the very first incident. And I want to stop on the map right here. Well, if I can get it to stop there, maybe. All right. So there is a Cinco de Mayo celebration going on. And if you look at all these business names right here, Jalisco, Tacos, El Chorrito, Los Portillos, this, Playa Cafe, Nutrition, and this looks to be a lot of Hispanic sounding businesses. So this almost seems like this could be like their, even over here. Yeah, this looks like this could be their Hispanic community over in here. Our town, we have kind of an area that is a lot of Hispanics live over there. It's a mix of Mexicans and El Salvadorans and Guatemalans. A lot of South American people kind of living very concentrated in one part of town. And some people kind of refer to that area as Little Mexico. So I would suspect that based off all these business names and everything, that's possibly what this is like over here. And so a big Cinco de Mayo party, a big festival out in the street, well, that would make kind of sense. Now, the last video that I did, Houston police, there was it was an incident where there's a big party going on. You could tell it was a Latino party going on with all the music in the background and the people that you see in the video. And in that video, I talked about how the Latino crowd is pretty easy going. Like, they're pretty relaxed, good group of people, very hospitable, generous, always wanting to offer food, and some of them offered drinks, but just good group of people, very chill, very relaxed. Now, just like any group of people, doesn't matter, what country you're from, what your race is, whatever, the young crowd, the very young people who subscribe to this bullshit hip-hop rap lifestyle, those are the problems. And definitely in the second video, you can tell that that's that kind of person based off, what they're doing and how they're looking as far as they're dressed, wearing the hoodie and everything. You can tell that's and plus the fact that, they were charged with a crime for using firearm under 18 or possession of firearm under 18 or whatever she said it was. That's a young person who subscribes to the hip-hop rap lifestyle. And that's a very problematic type of lifestyle. And it doesn't even have to be very young people. It can also be older people who are like in their 30s and 40s who still subscribe to that damn lifestyle. But by and large, you see that it's the younger cats who are the most problematic. One, the impulse control just isn't there. Very high testosterone and just a lot of stupidity based off lack of experience. They just haven't been around the sun that many times. And you add in a mixture of family problems, usually a lack of a father. It's just a breeding ground for problems. The first incident that we'll be going into, it's hard to say for sure, but I would say that although that person was deemed to be justified in using self-defense, I think that them running away from the police the way they did, I think that kind of squashes that. I think that they were not a true innocent person in this incident, and that they were probably as much as the problem as the other group of people. Good people do not run from the police. Good people do not run away from the police. And that's what he was trying to do. He was trying to get away from the police. So I just don't think that person was 100% legit, like truly innocent, 100% a victim. Like, I'd say that they were probably doing some stupid stuff to a certain level with the other group of people, and then the shooting occurred. And they look to be a younger person, so I would say that the young hip-hop rap lifestyle bullshit probably still applies to that person and the group of people that he was involved with. Now, as I mentioned, it looks, like the whole strip right there is Latin-based. And so the question I have, and I don't know the answer to, is this a organized event where it is a planned block party kind of thing, or is this a kind of a spur of the moment impromptu, like everyone's gathering down here on the Latin street and we're going to celebrate, Cinco de Mayo, and it's just by happenstance all these people are here? I don't know. If it's the happenstance kind of thing, if it's something that just kind of happens over the years, like no one organizes this thing, that's one thing to deal with. And the response to that from the governmental side is there should be a a good level of law enforcement presence there. And it does appear as though they do have a decent presence there. They've got vehicles parked there with lights on. You see that this is a whole group of officers in this one area. So if they're doing this as a normal thing, they're creating a large presence, then they're doing good by doing that. Usually uniformed officers, a show of force, people are less likely to do stupid shit around armed peace officers. Now, if this is an event where it is organized by someone or a group of people, and they are the ones who are attracting all these people there, then some responsibility should be put on their shoulders for crowd control. And if there are so many problems at these events, then actions should be taken against those people for creating an atmosphere where bad things happen. So, for example, one thing that I think that could be done is if there's a pattern of problems with the same people who apply for permits, stop giving them fucking permits. Stop allowing them to create these events where problems keep occurring. So that's one thing the local government can do, is just put an end to certain people getting licenses or permits for block parties. Just cut them out, like, no, you're fucking done. Now, obviously, what those people will do is they'll get a buddy or someone else, etc., to do that. You can just go through this process of elimination of knocking them out, not giving them permits. Businesses, that could be getting these permits and they're alcohol-related business, start sending in the cavalry when it comes to alcohol-related businesses. They want to play this game of attract a whole bunch of people there and not give a shit about managing the crowd and doing crowd control and making sure bad things don't happen and saying, oh, we'll just push all this liability on the police so they can take care of all the problems. Okay, you want to play that game? Boom. Inspection. Oh, you failed this inspection. Okay, boom. That's a mark against you. Boom, another mark. Boom, another mark. Oh, you lost your fucking liquor license. Too bad. There are ways the local government can operate to modify behaviors out of people who are causing these issues or potentially causing these issues. I have no idea if on this street where they hold Cinco de Mayo celebrations, if there's always problems like this every year. But if there is, and it's some of the local businesses there that are attracting all these masses of people and they're not doing much in the way of helping to control them in any way, then definitely the responsibility should be, some of the responsibility should be put on their shoulders. And if they don't do things to mitigate these issues, then they need to pay a consequence. Whether that be lose their liquor license, have the health department go in there and hit them hard, and they lose their food license, disorderly premises type of citations, whatever. The pressure needs to be put on them to make them start thinking about doing things the right way. Now, if this is a whole happenstance kind of thing, like it's just everybody has like this unwritten, agreed upon thing, like, hey, for Cinco de Mayo, we're going to go down to this strip and celebrate down there. And none of the businesses are really going out of their way to attract the people. They just kind of show up. Well, that's on the police department and local government to plan around those things and to make sure that there's a large police presence, which it looked like there was. So they're doing good on that. But if the police are going to be there, the police need to be policing. They need to be doing police things like fucking arresting people and writing citations. Just standing around doesn't really do a whole lot for everybody. There's some people who just their mere presence are like, all right, there's cops over there. Let's not get too stupid. There's other people who will test those limits, and when nothing gets done, well, then everybody else sees that, and that emboldens other people. So on top of just having a large police presence there, the police need to be acting like the police and snatching people up. Other people need to see people getting snatched up for their stupidity. That needs to send a message to everyone. If you fuck around, you're going to find out. So people who are appearing to be manifestly under the influence of danger to themselves and others, bam, snatching their ass up off the fucking street, throwing them in the back of the car, and taking off with them. And they don't come back. They go for timeout for 8 hours at the local jail. Put that kind of pressure on that crowd, the message will be sent pretty clear. Don't fuck around. Now, whether or not they were doing that, I have no idea. But with the way some policing is in some areas, I wouldn't be surprised if they kind of took a hands-off approach on a lot of stuff and just stood around. But just know that police need to be police. Part of the job is arresting people. Making examples out of people. All right, so when I first watched this first video, at the very beginning, boom, they come around the corner, shots are being fired. My actual first thought was, well, how do you know for sure that this person is a bad person? How would you know or not know if they're just someone defending themselves? And so that's a real possibility. That someone could be legitimately defending themselves from an armed attacker, and boom, come around the corner, all you see is them shooting, and then you shoot them. And it could end up being a bad shoot because you shot the wrong person. So although, like I said earlier, they said this guy was defending himself, I don't think that he's 100% innocent and 100% victim in this. I think because he was running from the police and acting the way he was, there was some stupidity on his part, some shenanigans on his part. But that is definitely something to be thinking about when a shots fired incident like this occurs right around the corner from you. Not just for police, but for all armed citizens. If you don't witness the entire transaction going down, you really have no idea who is who. You don't know who's the good guy and you don't know who's the bad guy. And that can matter a whole lot when it comes to whether or not you have a justifiable defense to the use of deadly physical force. So, for example, here in Kentucky, the circumstances as they appear and the circumstances as they exist, those are two different things, and they matter a whole lot with use of force or use of deadly physical force. So you, as an armed citizen, could be walking around and a person could come to you and pull out an airsoft gun that looks like a real gun, and you could pull your gun and shoot and kill them. You would be justified in doing that. You would have a justifiable defense in court. You would likely be found innocent in a court of law for shooting a person who pulled an airsoft gun on you, because it was the circumstances as they appeared to be. It appeared to you that they were armed with a deadly physical weapon and they were going to shoot and kill you. Now, you come around the corner and you see two people. One's got a gun and the other does not have a gun. And one person's got a gun who has the gun has it pointed at another person. They're both wearing street clothes. You pull your gun and you shoot the guy who has the gun because you think that a mugging is occurring and you're going to protect that other person. Well, come to find out, that person with the gun is a plainclothes police officer trying to make an arrest on a fugitive. What you thought was going on didn't happen. So those were not the circumstances as they exist. So to use deadly physical force in the protection of another, it has to be the circumstances as they exist, not as what they appear to be. So you may not have a justifiable defense to use of deadly physical force in that kind of scenario. So you've got to be very careful about what you're going to get yourself involved in. Is it your fight, and is it worth you getting into that fight? If it's not your fight and you're an armed citizen and you have no obligation to be there, you're not being paid to be there, it's not your job to go protect life and property, fuck them. That's right. Fuck them. Don't get involved. It's not your fight. Now, obviously, it changes when it comes to police and security because they're paid to be there. They're paid to go and protect life and property. So that makes it more difficult for them because they just can't say to hell with it. They just can't walk away. I guess if you're a Parkland High School school resource officer when there's an active shooter going on, I guess you can kind of walk away. But there's going to be consequences to that. And because you just can't walk away from those things, you just can't choose not to go to them. You have to act. You really got to think about these kind of scenarios and train and practice for them. You have to develop your skill set to where very fluid and dynamic scenarios are easily navigable by you. You can more easily, I don't hate to say operate, but you can more easily operate in those type of environments and have a higher degree of success than someone who is not as well trained. Now, I'm not saying these guys are not well trained or anything, but this kind of scenario just exemplifies why your training should be as good as you can get it to be.
Hey, put it down! Put it down now!
So I like how this officer here has his rifle out. I don't know if he was walking around with the rifle while they were patrolling the area doing stuff, or if he had been near a vehicle and was able to retrieve it. I would say that because it was so quickly put into play that he was probably carrying it around. So that there in and of itself is another topic. So rifles are the best things to be taking to a gunfight. There's no doubt about that. If you know you're going to a gunfight, bring a rifle and bring your friends with rifles. When working out of a vehicle, you got your rifle or shotgun in the vehicle. When you're not working in a vehicle, where's the rifle and shotgun at? Most likely in the vehicle. And so on large events like this where, everyone's cruisers may be parked in a certain area, at point A, and you all are like 100 yards away, 50 yards away, 20 yards away, whatever, you're at point B. There is a distance between you and that rifle. And that distance, even if it's only 10 yards or 20 yards, may be so great that it might as well be in China at that point. It might as well be somewhere else in the world, even though it's only 10 yards away. And so having that rifle there in that vehicle is not very realistic for you. So the rifle realistically needs to be carried around when you're going to be out on a foot patrol type of position. Otherwise, you may not ever have the chance to be able to go retrieve it in time. You may be too far away. Point A is where your rifle at, point B is where you're at, and point C is where all the action's at. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to run from B to A and be that far away from C, and then to run from A to C. That's not going to work out too well. So when it comes to events like this, where people are out on foot, walking around, it makes more sense for people to have rifles on them. That way, if something pops off, there's people there with rifles able to respond to things. The problem with that for administrators of agencies is the looks of someone walking around with a rifle. They think it looks bad. Mayors think it looks bad. City council people think it looks bad. They think it scares people. Oh my God, it's a scary black rifle. This ain't a war zone. Blah, 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 blah. those people don't understand tactics. Those people will not be the ones going to a fucking gunfight. They'll be running away from it. So honestly, their opinions mean jack shit. And I wish that there were laws set up that would allow a chief of police to be able to operate like a sheriff. Because a sheriff is an elected position. The only people they answer to are the people who voted for them. And that's as a large group. They don't have to answer to a mayor. They can tell a mayor to shut the fuck up. If a mayor wants to complain about, well, we got complaints about this officer walking around with a rifle and it was just so scary. The sheriff could be like, I don't give a fuck. Shut up. Don't call me about this stupid shit again. A chief of police? Well, they work for that mayor. They're under that mayor. That mayor can demote them. So what's a chief of police going to do? They're going to keep their place at the table. They're going to cave to what a mayor wants. So, okay, mayor, I'll put this red tape policy in place that says these officers have to write a report on why they got a rifle out, and they have to notify a supervisor. If not, we'll write them up. So what's that do? That causes officers not to be getting their rifles out, which is bullshit. So I really wish that police chiefs would become an elected position so that they too could in turn around and tell the mayor to shut the fuck up. So good on this officer for walking around with his rifle. Good on his supervisors and his admin for either advocating for him to do this or allowing this to go on. Because this is a good thing to be going on. And I think that one rifle hit is what stopped that person. For sure. I'm very confident that one rifle hit is what took this fight to a complete stop. Which is pretty typical with rifles. That's why rifles are preferred. Now, what I don't like from this agency is how they do the split screen kind of thing. Or the... What is it? It's not split screen. It's picture in picture, I think it's called. I hate when they do this because you're trying to pay attention to one thing and this is just too distracting. I wish they would have, did these separate to kind of show this one more full screen, but to be able to break it up so it's not so damn confusing. So I'll play this. Pay attention to the large screen part. Ignore this small one. Don't watch this one at all right now. I'll play it here later, but don't pay attention to it right now. Pay attention to the big one here.
Put it down! Put it down! Put it down! Stop!
So he was in this vehicle here. And was he there the entire time the shots were being fired? I don't know. It's hard to say. But
put it down! Put it down!
It's possible that he was over there doing his bull crap and then was trying to get in this vehicle to leave.
Put it down! Stop!
Who else is going to be running towards you with flashlights yelling, put it down, yelling police? The fact that he has turned and started to run, that just makes me feel that this guy is not a true victim.
Drop the gun! Drop the gun! On your stomach! On your stomach! Drop the gun! Drop the gun! On your stomach! On your...
So I don't know exactly where he drops the gun at.
Drop the gun! On your stomach!
But we see a picture of the gun that looks like it's next to a propane tank or something.
Drop the gun!
And he had it right there in his hand as he's running.
Drop the gun!
So I think it's possible that he actually pitched the damn thing, or he turned so quickly that as he was spinning, it just kind of launched out of his hand and went over here somewhere. Other than that,
On your stomach!
I don't know exactly where exactly it went. Now, could this officer have perceived that? Could he have seen the gun go where it went? Potentially, yes, because the human eye is going to be able to see with a whole lot more clarity than what we can see through a camera. So we can't see shit very well through the camera, but the officer can see very well. So he may have seen exactly where that handgun went. But the possibility also exists that he may not have seen where it had went. And this guy going to the ground and then being on his side. Well, on his side...
Drop the gun! Drop the gun! On your...
It could be a belt right there, maybe. Or it could be the gun itself. I don't know for sure.
Drop the gun! On your...
But his hands... You have to... I tell you what, let me hit 5 seconds back and we'll go to very slow speed. So that hand, the way it very quickly goes down behind him, I think that this was just him trying to, brace himself and everything. But from this angle, this officer could have perceived this as him going for a weapon. And this guy very easily could have been lit up again. And had he been lit up again, I think this officer would have been completely justified in being able to do that. But then we very quickly see both hands come out. Both hands' fingers are spreading. This guy is clearly communicating, I'm done. I'm out of the fight. But it very quickly could have turned into him being shot. Alright, so let's back it up and watch the officer with the rifle here. Alright, so we're watching this small screen. Now, this is the opening where you're going to see this guy go into. So, this vehicle that he's on the side of is actually this vehicle right here. Alright, so now you see his feet coming into view right here. So that right there, I think this officer tried to fire at this point. Let me back it up 5 more seconds. Watch his finger and watch his hand. So that moment right there, I think he tried to shoot, but the safety was on. It's hard to see because one, they made this such a small screen itself, and then two, the body cam info up here in the screen is kind of blocking some of the view, but you can see him deactivate that safety. Now, when he shoots, this officer is very close to the suspect. And the angle that he's at, he has a very small, narrow area for him to be shooting at. A very, very narrow lane for this bullet to be traveling through. Look at this walkway in the big screen. This walkway is not very large at all. 4 feet wide, maybe. I don't know. Maybe. You can tell from this pole right here to this right there and the legs right here that this officer is pretty close. And from this right here, this fence and pole, to the suspect right here, that gap, that's a very narrow gap right there. And so from, this space to this space is what this officer right here is shooting through. So when he fires his rifle round, it travels through a very narrow space, passes up the officer, and hits the bad guy. This is some pretty precision shooting right here. And that is something that, although it could be done with a pistol, the likelihood of you getting a very accurate hit on target that you intended to get on target is very low. You only have a higher chance of making this kind of shot with a rifle, because a rifle has a longer barrel on it, and there are more points of contact on that rifle to help further stabilize it and reduce as much movement in the overall system as possible, thus making it more accurate. Had this officer tried to shoot with his pistol, number one, I think he would have missed completely. And number two, there's a possibility he could have hit the officer. Because with a handgun, you have a very short barrel, and the littlest amount of movement in that gun throws the shot placement way off. And at that distance, I think it would have been so far off that he potentially could have hit that officer in the back if he had shot with a pistol. So when I say that rifles are better for gunfights, this is what I'm talking about. Partly what I'm talking about. The accuracy with the rifle involved. This is why rifles are so much better than pistols. Or part of the reason why they're so much better than pistols is you are able to make more accurate shots in scenarios like this. So that officer who fired, he, in my opinion, was completely justified in using that deadly physical force, and would have been protected under Tennessee versus Gardner. I believe that based on what he was observing, what he was seeing, he believed this to be a fleeing felon who was a substantial risk to the rest of the public. And it was appropriate for him to use that level of force that he used to stop this person. All right, moving on to the next. I'll at the end of the second one, I'll talk about medical stuff, but notice that they're using a chest seal on him. Oh, come on. Where's the second one? There we go. So this incident, let me get a slow speed there. Go back to normal. All right, I'll play this and then talk.
2416 to 2211. Let me get 4 officers here. Probably you able to alley. Make sure nobody's hurt.
So you hear the gunfire in the background. And then this dude fires. So what I think was going on is this guy's just being an asshole. Shots are being fired. He thinks it's funny, and he's going to have some fun himself and scare the shit out of people even more than what they already are by shooting his gun in the air. It looks kind of clear to me that he was not, intending to shoot other people. That's my belief. Now, I come to that belief based off being able to replay this multiple times. That's a luxury I have in watching a video and doing a Monday quarterback. The officer, right then there in that moment, does not have that luxury. He don't have the ability to hit playback and analyze what's going on. All he can do is observe and act based off what he just seen. And what he just seen was a guy firing a machine gun in a group of people. He may not, actually, I tell you what, he may not even had fully seen the guy lift the gun up and shoot. Although we could see that in camera, that does not mean that's where this officer's eyes were pinpointed at. This officer's eyes may have been pinpointed somewhere else, and it's just that we were lucky enough to have the camera oriented in that direction to see this guy point the gun up in the air and fire. The officer may not initially seen that. When the gunfire erupted and the officer turned his head, moved his eyes to focus in what was going on, he may have seen the person's hand up in the air and may have perceived that because this guy fired full auto, that the recoil caused his arm to go up. And that he may have actually shot some people with his full auto gun. So that's a very good possibility. So this guy fires a full auto pistol. And this officer reacts appropriately. So yeah, 100% this officer is justified in using the deadly physical force against this guy, and continuing to use that force against this guy. This guy was leaning towards that gun, hands, arms kind of outreached. Yeah, it was very plausible that dude was trying to go for the gun to engage in a gunfight with the officer. So the officer used an appropriate amount of force on this guy to get him to stop reaching towards or going towards that weapon. At this distance, out of all those rounds he fired, I don't think all rounds hit the guy. It's possible that the majority of them did, but I don't think all rounds hit this guy. And you would think, well, he's so close. It's such a, close distance between them two. That's the problem with pistols, is they're very short-barreled, and just a littlest amount of movement in the overall system can throw shot placement off. And even at such a short distance like this, it could throw shot placement significantly off to where you're not even on target anymore. So out of all those rounds he fired, I'm going to go out on a limb and bet that not all of them hit, and only some of those rounds hit the intended target. And when they hit the intended target, they did not truly even go towards what would be the intended target. The intended target on a human target is the heart or the brain. He may have hit this guy, but he obviously did not hit him in the heart or brain. So he put rounds in his body somewhere, but just not where he wanted them to be. And again, that goes back to a pistol being short-barreled and a little amount of movement throwing shot placement off. With the amount of rounds that he fired, he should have been able to perforate that dude's heart and or brain with no issue. If, at this distance, this guy had a rifle, then I think that this would be done. Like, there would be no fucking, this dude's rolling towards the gun, making it look like he's going to reach for the gun, and him, rolling around and sitting up on his own. There would be none of that. Had this officer been armed with a more appropriate weapon like a rifle. I think a few rounds from a rifle would have caused immediate incapacitation on this person. And that is a problem with handgun ammunition, is the terminal ballistics just aren't that great. It may take several rounds from pistol to achieve incapacitation, where a rifle, it could take fewer rounds to achieve that desired effect. All pistol ammunition sucks. I don't care what you have, 9, 40, 45, 357, whatever. It all sucks in comparison to rifle. Rifles are what dominate gunfights. And again, that's why I say, if you know you're going to a gunfight, bring a rifle and bring your friends with rifles.
Go reach! Go reach! Get back! Get back! Get back! Get back! Get back! Get back! Everybody get back!
I don't got nothing. I don't got nothing. I hate that shit. Oh my God, that pisses me off when people start acting like that. Motherfucker, you had a machine gun. And now you crying, I ain't got nothing, I ain't got nothing. Fucking, this didn't do nothing crowd, man. God, they're such fucking miscreants.
2286! 2286! Shots fired! Officer involved! I have the gun recovered. I need medical right now! Black male shot multiple times! Right here! Here's the gun!
So this crowd is now what I'm paying attention to.
I'm over here! Over here!
So these people are now adding more chaos to a scene that already has a lot of chaos. Only but, in my opinion, one verbal command needs to be given for them to get the fuck back. And if they want to sit there and whine and complain and not follow directions, they need to be physically made to follow directions. If that means spraying them in the face with pepper spray, taking this shield and body checking the fuck out of them, like literally, he's got a shield, he's got a great tool just to come up and thump the fuck out of them. Hit them so goddamn fucking hard they fall on their ass and hit their head. There is a lack of a, like, it's so interesting in a way, and perplexing, where law enforcement will use force when it's needed, but then other times when it is needed, it doesn't get used. In scenarios like this, where these people are coming up and they are causing distraction and chaos, they are an indirect deadly threat at this point because of all the confusion and the distraction that they are creating. This guy now has his back turned to what's going on. This guy may not be fully focused on this because all this commotion going on back here. Same with this officer. So while their attention is being distracted and divided, this guy could go for another gun. Just because he had one gun on him doesn't mean he doesn't have two. The people that he was with, they could be armed. One of them could start to pull out a gun and say, oh no, I shot my buddy. You know what? We're going to die in a shootout with the police together. YOLO. And then they start shooting. And while they're distracted dealing with these dumb fucks over here, that puts them in a bad position. So, in my opinion, after an officer-involved shooting has occurred and people are rushing in and getting in your face and acting stupid, I think all it takes is one verbal command. Get back. And if they don't want to follow that command, fuck their shit up. Seriously, fuck them up. Make them get the fuck back.
I'm just west on Scott from 16th. Gone recovered. We need medical, we need bosses.
So it's
Gone
like,
recovered. We need medical, we need bosses.
and they're surrounded at this point. They literally are. They are surrounded and outnumbered and potentially even outgunned. And here's more people coming in wanting to cause confusion. Like I said, after an officer-involved shooting and a crowd starts to form and wanting to do this rushing shit and come towards people, a precedent has to be set. Because it's just a matter of time before these kind of behaviors that go unchecked, basically, are going to lead to people getting closer and closer and closer. And then they're going to be going hands-on. They're going to be touching the victim. They're going to be putting themselves between the victim and the officer. It's just, and that has probably occurred in some places, just haven't seen a video yet to really be able to reference very easily. But when these kind of behaviors are left unchecked, they just continue to snowball. And the precedence, I believe, needs to be set that when police are in a critical situation, a critical incident, and they're telling people to get back, and those people don't get back, the gloves need to come off. People's noses need to start bleeding. People need to start feeling extreme pain. And get the message very clear. Get back. This is almost like a mini riot in a way. And so riot control is utilizing force. That's how you affect influence on a crowd of people and get them to get back. You use force against them. You make them feel pain. That's why CS grenades are used. Well, highly doubtful these officers are carrying around CS grenades, but they got pepper spray. They start spraying the fucking shit out of people. Hose them down. Empty the whole can on a group of people. Get them to get the hell back. Bring control over that scene. Because with the current things the way they are, it is very plausible that whoever this dude was with could be feeling some kind of way and be wanting to enact revenge on these officers. And when these officers are all distracted by all these little nincompoops running around, acting stupid, coming up, wanting to do live streams and get in the face, yelling fuck 12 and just accosting the officers, it's keeping them distracted. It's keeping them off task and unable to fully control that scene on what's going on. All right, so we have a Glock pistol, pretty standard Glock pistol. It has the threaded barrel on the end, which is interesting, and it has a full auto switch on the back. So that's not normal. That doesn't come with the gun. That is an aftermarket accessory that you have to put on there, and that aftermarket accessory is not legal. No one is able to legally own those. You can't go get a special permit. You can't pay a certain fee to be able to own these things. The only people who can possess these things are military, police, or special gun dealers. Not even a normal gun dealer is supposed to possess this thing, but special gun dealers with a dealer sample with the intent to sell to military and police can possess those things. So just 3 kinds of people can possess these things. There are other machine guns out there that regular people can possess. They just have to go through a bunch of hoops and pay a bunch of money to possess the thing. But it's perfectly legal for them to do it. It's just a harder process. There is no harder process to get one of these. You can't pay a tax stamp. You can't go through a background check for that. It was built after 1986, and it's non-transferable. So the only way anyone can legally possess one of these right now, as it is military, police, or a special firearms dealer. So these are not sold in gun stores. They're not even on the fucking floor in a gun store. Like there's no need to even put them out on display because no one's going to be able to buy the damn things. The dealers that are able to possess these things with the intent to sell to police or law enforcement, they mostly keep them in their safes. And realistically, a lot of these dealers who got these things, they know the police and military aren't going to buy the damn things. They just got lucky enough to get someone to sign off on getting it as a sample, and now they got it. Or so there's another one. There's a fourth way of owning it. You're a manufacturer. So you could be a person who builds machine guns with the intent to sell. So that's the other way. So if you've got that special license to be a machine gun manufacturer, then obviously you can possess these things. But no one's putting these out on the storeroom floor for display because you're not going to be able to sell the damn things. So it's not like stores are being broken into and these things are getting stolen. These things are being shipped in to the country from elsewhere. A lot of them are coming from China. There are some ways, I guess, you can make them here in the U.S., but you're going to have people who are knowledgeable on machines and stuff like that. Your common street criminal is just not going to be able to rig something up to make this thing work like that. So it's not even a DIY kind of thing. It's not like everyone wants to talk about ghost guns where these kits you can buy, you can put a gun together. There is no kit to put one of these little switch things together. You literally pretty much have to buy it as a complete piece from somewhere. And a lot of them are, like I said, coming from China. These things are gaining popularity in large metropolitan areas. Houston and I think Dallas, Houston for sure. Real big in Houston, really big in other larger cities with the street gangs and stuff. They get these things in, and it's as much of a fad as the laser beams on the guns. Full auto does not really give you 100% benefit. In fact, it can be detrimental to even have full auto because you're not going to be super accurate with it at all. When you look at special forces and Navy SEALs and other special operations, the majority of the time, the overwhelming majority of the time, they are using their rifles in semi-automatic mode. They have full auto capability, but they're not using it because it's not reliable in terms of accuracy. Because once you start having that gun go full auto like that, it starts to move, and that can throw your accuracy way off. Now, there are times when full auto is preferred for warfare. When it comes to individual weapons like that, with like rifles and stuff, the only time that full auto is really beneficial is when you're trying to break contact. You're trying to create enough noise, throw enough lead down range that the enemy starts ducking their heads down and gives you that opportunity to start moving and getting the hell out of there. It's not something that you would necessarily use in assaulting a position or something like that. The only time for assaulting wise it would ever be useful is conducting an ambush. We got an L ambush set up. Enemy comes into that strike zone, and boom, they get there, and then you start laying down all the fucking lead into that one spot as you can. Other than that, rifles are on semi-auto the overwhelming majority of the time. And so pistols, you don't have special forces or Navy SEALs walking around with real, true, legit Glock 18 that are, from the factory made full auto. Like, no one carries those damn things around. They're just unrealistic. It's hard enough to control a rifle on full auto. Trying to control a pistol on full auto, it's not easy. And I've fired these things before, and they're fun. Oh, they're hellaciously fun, and that's really the only benefit of them. They're just a fun toy. From a practical standpoint, they're just not that useful on full auto. But street people being street people, uneducated, untrained, they don't really know that. And they think that the full auto gives them a benefit. In reality, it's not. It's actually making them less accurate and less likely to hit their intended target. The other thing we see right here, this looks like a laser light combo kind of deal. That's a fad. That is something that the hip hop rap crowd, they love the beams on their guns. If you ever watch a rap video, modern rap video, you're going to see them with a gun that has a laser beam on it, and they're shining that laser beam at the camera. Like, they are infatuated by these damn things. So, beams, the full auto switches are like the cat's meow for this crowd. This gun itself, I would say it probably came stock with the threaded barrel on there. And that this gun is not likely at all a legally purchased. Well, let me back this up. It is not a likely to have obtained legally by him. In fact, I know it was not legally obtained by him because he's not 18 years old. You cannot go to a gun store and buy something like a handgun unless you're 21. Even in a private sale, if Michigan allows private sales, under 18, he would not be able to go buy a handgun from anyone. So, number one, he was not able to come into legal possession of this. Secondly, whoever he got this from, I seriously doubt that they came into possession of this through legal means. I would suspect that they probably stole it, or
An extended magazine was recovered.
I hate when that happens. I would say they either stole it or they bought it from someone who stole it. And same thing applies for him. He either stole this out of a car or he bought it from someone who stole it. And it almost, you can kind of see right here where the serial number would be at. This almost looks like it's carved out looking, like it's scratched out right there.
9mm full auto switch. The suspect's Glock 9mm full.
Yeah, that looks like a scratched out serial number right there. So definitely, I think this thing is probably stolen. So where did this thing get stolen from? Well, it either got stolen out of a gun store or it got stolen from a person who was legally able to go buy it. And where were they storing this thing at? Most likely in their car. A lot of guns are getting stolen out of vehicles because people are careless and they are neglectful. They are keeping handguns in the center consoles of their cars, and the majority of the center consoles of cars don't even lock. They don't have a means to be able to lock. They don't have a fucking locking mechanism on them at all. But they leave them in the center console and they walk away from their car and leave their car unattended for hours at a time, and then someone comes along, tries the door handles. Some of these people forget to lock their damn doors, and so they open the car doors, no problem, get in the car, rummage around, boom, they find a gun. Or they very easily break the window of the car, get inside, rummage around, find the gun. Same with a person's house. A person leaves the house for multiple hours out of the day, and they leave their guns sitting on their nightstand, inside their nightstand, in between the mattress, under the pillow, on top of the closet shelf. Very obvious places to search for a gun. Like if you, in a zombie apocalypse, wanted to go find a gun and you were going through someone's house, where would be the places you would look? Would you go look in the kitchen cabinet where the pots and pans are, or would you go check the nightstand? I mean, it's pretty damn obvious. You go check the fucking nightstand. Humans are creatures of habit, and what you do is most likely what someone else is doing. And so the criminals know this. They know to go look at those most likely spots where something would be hidden, where they would hide something, and boom, they find these things. So if you are not going to carry your gun on you and keep it on you, then your gun needs to be made inaccessible or inoperable to unauthorized people. If you're going to be going to work and leaving your gun at home all day, get a safe. Lock your gun up. If you're going to take your gun with you, but leave it in your car, put a safe in your car. Lock it up. Do not allow your gun to be easily stolen by a criminal, because what's happening is these numbers of gun violence statistics, they are increasing due to these criminals stealing guns from lawful gun owners. So, lawful gun owners are indirectly going to be the reason why our gun rights are taken away, because they are carelessly fucking leaving their guns in places where they can be easily stolen and used in street crimes. It's just a matter of time before we reach the tipping point with these numbers of violence, these gun violence incidents occurring, and before the people who are on the fence finally fall over on one side of the fence and say, enough is enough. We need common sense gun law. No, 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 no. If you want the Second Amendment to remain the same as it is, you don't want it to be amended and changed. You don't want another amendment being placed in to restrict guns. If you don't want anything negative happening to guns, you need to become a more responsible gun owner. Stop leaving your fucking gun in the center console of your goddamn car, and it could be easily fucking stolen. You're putting my rights at risk. You're putting your rights at risk. Stop being unresponsible. All right. That is it. Not much else to talk about. If you like what you hear and see, go ahead and give me a like and a share. If you have not already, hit the subscribe button and stay tuned for more Monday quarterback videos. Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense. Thank you for watching.